Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, show 245, recorded at Big Dog Studios in Eugene, Oregon. This show is made possible by, hey y'all, are you looking for a place to start your herbal journey? Practicalherbalist.com is the perfect place to get that basic information for you to get moving on your path into herbalism. Practicalherbalist.com. Now, here are your hosts.
I'm Candace Hunter.
I'm Patrick Hunter.
And welcome to Real Herbalism Radio. Hey, Patrick, how you doing?
Hey, Candace, I'm good. How's it going? Did you cook up anything fun?
Oh, I got a big pot of chili cooking right now. I cooked my beans just right.
Did you?
I followed Phyllis's method.
All right, then.
She really inspired me.
Did she?
She really inspired me. After the Herbs in Action Summit, I really got thinking about what she had to say about recovery and using diet and nutrition to help you with recovering from illness. And I thought, well, you can use that to help prevent too. So I really was listening carefully to what she said in the summit and then looking at ways to apply some of that. Not so much the specific recovery foods, like we're not eating gruel every day.
Sure, but to go back just one second, for all of you that don't know, you can go to the herbsinaction.com website to watch Phyllis's talk on that because it's still up and it's still available. So I just want to let everyone know because you said summit and there might be new listeners that don't know what the summit was.
Right. Yes, and we'll make sure we have a link in the show notes too. But anyway, I started thinking about what she was talking about with using food to really build your system. And I thought, well, we really need to do that before flu and cold season comes this year because of COVID.
Right. Extra nutrition.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's part of why I wanted to get her back on the show because I wanted her to talk about some of the prevention elements of how you can build a strong system by just providing your body good nutrition.
And that is one of the things that, now that we've been into COVID for so many months, the things that they're finding, the common things are good nutrition, and that really includes vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc. Being really high on those levels throughout will help you in your immune system.
Yeah.
So making sure you have those nutrients or vitamins along with everything else that goes around them is only going to benefit you through both the flu and the COVID season now, because we might as well just say we're in a COVID season.
Right.
And from what I understand, it's possible that we may be having COVID season each year.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of sounds like it's going to be a little bit like the medieval plague seasons. Although in our case, it'll probably be more likely to be worse during the winter than during the summer. Yeah.
Possibly for sure. It's a hard one to notice, but we do see things happening. But, I think you were right with Phyllis. We had always cooked beans and did things like that, but just that one technique changed everything on that.
Oh, yeah, the beans are so much better. They taste so much better. It's surprising. It shocked me.
Yeah, and they're creamier, and I wouldn't even notice that there's no meat in the dishes. Like you're making a chili, I think, even today, and I'm really excited about.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully I'm trying some new giant can of tomato puree you brought home, so we'll see. Yeah.
So a friend of mine's neighbor, owned a salsa making company, and they did everything organic ingredients and all that stuff. Well, he decided that instead of making salsa in Oregon, he wants to make salsa in Arizona.
Sure.
So he left, but he left a bunch of stuff behind and said to my friend, hey, why don't you take all this? And there was like 2 or 3 cases of 6 or 10 gallon cases of organic tomato sauce or puree. So we have...
Yeah, but the can is like...
It's a gallon.
When you remember back when you were, some of us, when we were children, we had the giant Folgers coffee can.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's a gallon.
It's a gallon. It's a huge can of
and
puree.
we have like 6 or 10 of them now.
Yeah. So I figured, let's make some beans and make some chili.
And we'll give the other can to our kid and say, here, rice and red sauce.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway, that was a great technique on that and what she was talking about. And I think, what we found is through COVID and people having a little more time to be at home and not as much about being out to eat or using the conveniences of modern day.
I mean, a lot of restaurants aren't even open or are barely
Or if they are open, it's completely takeout, so you have to go there, get it, and bring it home anyway.
Yeah.
So a lot of things, and we've seen this even locally, a lot of gardens have popped up. People's raised beds. People are harvesting. People are learning. They have all this stuff to do. CSA subscriptions are on the rise over the last 6 months. Which just means that now you've got all this produce, you have all this food coming in. What do you do with it? And for a lot of people, we're not one of those people because we cook. We've been cooking. We've always cooked. We've been people. In fact, most of our friends are like, you cook.
Yeah, right.
But she had some really great tips on how to bring cooking back into your life, because it's not just I'm going to cook tonight. I mean, you have to think about it. It's a process.
Yeah. I decided yesterday early afternoon, that I was definitely going to make chili. I put the beans to soak right away. They soaked till this morning, and then this morning I put them on, and my son actually helped with minding them as they did their first 15 minutes of boil, because I was busy with something else, and we got that going, and then I put all of the beans plus the other ingredients I needed into my crock pot, and right now the crock pot is doing the rest of the work for me. So it was planning, but it's going to make for a really comforting, delicious home-style meal that I'm not really it's not that much work to put into it,
Not only that, the side benefit from that is when you come home and the house smells like food, you're less apt to say, let's just go out to eat.
Right. Yes.
Because,
it's a lot.
Yeah.
If anything, even if the food that you put on, like you're like, oh, I don't feel like chili tonight. You get there and you can smell it. You're like, oh, guilt factor. I made it. I really got to eat it. We'll save out to eat for a different day. Right.
And I think, personally, out to eat is much more of always been in my mind, a special meal, an event.
Oh, come on. To be fair, you and I have been bad over the past 3 years. I'm only going to go back 3 years. We've eaten out or gotten food from out on average, I would bet 3 to 5 meals a week minimum.
That's lunch.
It's still.
I'll count it as lunch. Talking dinner.
When I was a kid, and when I was 18, the way my parents lived, we got out to eat once a week on Friday for dinner. That was it. And I can't remember if my parents were consistent through my high school years with that or not. Out to eat was always either Little Caesars Pizza, Taco Bell tacos, or White Castle sliders. Those are like the 3 options we had on our out to eats. So we weren't going for highfalutin, fancy pants restaurants or anything like that. But, and that was like the height of the eating out. When I was even younger, there was like no eating out most weeks, and then it was actually like when we had out to eat, it actually was a big deal.
Yeah, when we were kids, it was the same way. When we had a family of 5, and if we went out, it was specific. There was a lot of, and I think here's an interesting observation along that. You had a parent home.
Yeah,
I had a parent home.
But even when I did, like through high school, my mom and dad both worked.
Yes,
but
your mom, was your mom full-time working at that point?
Yeah.
Or was she just,
Yeah, but by high school, she had figured out how to do her meals so that she planned ahead.
Right, so it was a meal
And
prep.
then she would have my sister or I put on the rice for dinner or put on the this. Or I learned to make chili back then. I mean, it was a package style, but I learned how to do minimal amounts of cooking to help her out.
Well, exactly. But it comes back to that idea of prep. And I know that, my parents, the way that we lived when I remember, we would go to the grocery store once a month.
Yeah. And you guys did have a parent home.
Yeah. And we did.
Because your dad didn't work full time through that time.
And, but there was still, all the food was purchased. And, and to hate to say it, but we had the nights. We had hamburger night.
Yeah.
We had spaghetti night. We had pork we had whatever. And then Sunday was typically a big dinner that was not of any that it could be.
Fancy pants dinner.
But sometimes and that dinner would take
something.
longer. It would take all day to cook.
Yeah.
It was a roast or it was, stuffed cabbage, or it was whatever it was. But the point was, it was
the family came
a big
together
family
to cook.
dinner no, we didn't come together to cook. The kids, we were doing our own thing. Mom and Dad cooked. But the point was that it was a big dinner and it was a Sunday, but everything was planned. I mean, and I know my parents did the scheduling along that. Tonight's bacon night, or not bacon night, but you know what I mean. Because it was easy to budget for. It was easy to plan for.
Right.
Everybody knew what that was, and everybody knew. The only thing that might change would be like the side dish. Was it going to be beans, or was it going to be corn, or was it going to be, something like that? But the general meat of our meal was always going to be planned out. Monday is pork chop night. It will, and forever shall be known as such.
Right.
And if you deviate from pork chop night, there's a problem.
Right.
So that's, that was the thing that how my family did it. But when she was talking about now, we've gotten away from that planning and being more in a, triage type of situation. Oh my God, it's 5:00. We got kids home. We got to eat something.
And we've only got 25 minutes, and so we have to go for the after-school activity.
So if you don't have a crock pot full of food ready to go or not, what are you going to do? Let's get in the car. We'll get something on the way.
Yeah, and I've watched a lot of families eat a lot of fast food because they could eat it in the car on their way, racing to the next event.
To the one thing to the next thing. And I think anything, if you want to call it a benefit from COVID, is that people have had to slow down.
Yeah.
They haven't had those activities. They have one activity now, maybe.
Yeah.
They have time. They've spent more time together. And one of the positive benefits from all this is many people have said, I don't want to go back to what we were doing before because I don't like it.
Yeah. 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 I've personally liked seeing that shift in our culture. I think it's better for us to take the time to slow down, be with whomever we're with, and eat. Like sit down at a table, turn off the TV, sit down at a table, and eat a meal and just talk to one another.
Right.
It's very old-fashioned, but honestly, I mean, there's conversation in Ayurveda, or there's teachings or whatever in Ayurveda about, and I think Chinese medicine has it too, that when you're eating, you should eat. And you need to be there and be present. And if you do so, you'll digest better. Mm-hmm. Just by being in the moment, you digest better, which means your body takes in the nutrition better, which means you're generally healthier. And it really just comes back to preparing a meal and eating the meal together. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, if you're a single person, eating it mindfully without a TV or a book or something to fill your head. Instead, just pay attention to the food you're eating.
Which is hard, because if you are alone, and sometimes that TV or whatever is your, I don't want to say it, but your companion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the week that you were gone, you went back east? Mm-hmm. Back east. You went back east to, see the family and pick up Finn. And during that week, I was home alone, and it was just me and, Jasper and Kiko and Arthur and, the whole entire flock and mm-hmm. Sweet Annie and the court, mm-hmm. But they were outside, so there was just the four of us inside. And of the four of us, I'm the only one who tends to speak aloud. So it was really just me, right? And I felt a few times very tempted to break away from, break away from just eating. I had this, one of the things I decided that week I was going to focus on was not turning on the TV for the entire week. The whole plan was to not turn the TV on, not look at any movies or TVs or anything like that, and only listen to audiobooks. And when I listened to audiobooks, it could be like while I was knitting or doing other things, but not during a meal. During meals, I needed to just be me and give it a try because,
right.
It's rare that I eat by myself. I have a family that's always around,
Mm-hmm.
And it was, there are a few nights where I was really finding it hard to just be there in the silence. And I can imagine that if that's what you do every day because you live, alone, it would be really challenging to not listen to a book or watch a TV show or turn the radio on or something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know like even when I would have lunch at home, mm-hmm. Especially when you were doing your lunchtime meetings, I'd put the TV on and I'd have a talk show on while I was cooking. And preparing my lunch and getting things set. And then that's what I would listen to while I was, while I was doing all that, because I wanted the noise and I wanted the people. I rarely would just sit down and, not have that.
Yeah.
So I completely understand it.
But when you focus just on your food and you do turn that stuff off, the food becomes more vibrant, which is great, unless, of course, what you're eating is something you don't really love, in which case it's not as great. It did encourage me during that week to start really thinking more mindfully about what I was cooking and what I was eating. Because, I have been known to just eat raw vegetables because they're fast and easy and not do anything fancy with them. And they're not bad, but there's so much more that you can do. And when all you're doing is focusing just on your food and you've got an apple, a carrot, and a chunk of cabbage, and that's all you've got that you're eating because you were too lazy to actually do something with it, and there's no dressing or anything, and you have nothing to distract yourself, that gets really, really boring really, really fast.
It does.
Yeah.
Really, really boring. Yeah. And, with the introduction of Instapot now and these things where you can use pressure as well, you can do dinners so much faster. I mean, you could cook beans pretty quickly if you want to. Rice is quicker.
Yeah.
If you are still a meat eater, which is fine, no judgment here.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that when we had our Instapot was to do Kahlua pork, which is a smoked, pork roast. You do that in like 40 minutes.
Right.
And it was pork tender and it tasted amazing and everyone loved it.
Yeah, and it's super easy to find recipes for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, totally. So, those are the things that I think more produce available, more planning, easier production. Why are we not all eating at home?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, you're right. Phyllis is right. Eat at home.
Yep.
Plan it out a bit. It also makes it easier to budget for it.
And the other good benefit is, especially if you're with a couple or family or whatever, it's time to really connect. I don't know how many conversations have gotten spurred because we've all just been sitting at the table eating.
Yeah.
That we wouldn't have normally received. It's like choosing to take your kids somewhere. You may not ever talk about anything, but there'll be that one moment where something comes up. And then you have this great conversation that you never would have had not been there.
Yeah.
So
that is true.
Just be there, I guess, and experience it. It's fun. Now a little word from the old sponsors. Hey, did you get over to see the Herbs in Action Summit? Did you see the great website they have? Mud Pot Design created all of it. They know how to make an idea and in a short term turn it into a business. If you have an idea or a company that needs a website that isn't some cookie cutter freebie web service, Mud Pot Design can help you out. They offer free consults to help you focus your idea, or if you have a good website, try to make it even better. And more importantly, get found with SEO services. If you're in the need for website or marketing services, check out mudpotdesign.com. So we're back. So you've got a question today, or we have a question today, and we got this from our really cool little chat bubble thing on the front of our website, which, we like to manage as much as we can, but doesn't always happen. So you can always send an email through that. And today's question is from Nikki L. And Nikki asks, "Hi, my mother-in-law gave me a family recipe for a salve I want to make, but it uses something called black rosin. I can't find anything about it online. Do you know what it is?"
Nikki, that is an awesome question. And the very quick and fast answer is no, I actually really can't tell you exactly what that is. What I can tell you, though, is that I know in a lot of Southern medicine, herbal medicine preparations, and I also recall it being a part of Russian, Siberia, Northern Europe preparations, they use pine pitch or pitch from conifer trees, which they then boil down and it becomes essentially a black rosin. Rosin, like what's used on bowstrings, for instance, in instruments, is a purified, if you will, pitch from conifer trees. The types of trees vary with the types of rosins, and there's all kinds of variations in the musical world I'm not going to even try to get into about why you use this one versus that one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes rosins are black and sometimes they're more amber colored overall. So my best guess for you is that probably black rosin in your mother-in-law's recipe is probably a pine pitch or similar pitch-based preparation. That's probably the pitch boiled down so that it got to the point where it turned black in the processing.
Right. And during the bit of research we did on this, rosin is used as an emulsifier. So if this is in a salve,
it could be,
that could be the emulsifier.
Yes.
Right.
Right. So if your recipe does not include beeswax or an oil like coconut oil or shea butter that are hard at room temperature, there's a very good chance that that's what the black rosin is in there to do, in part. If it is a pine pitch based preparation, like I'm guessing it is, it would also be contributing some antibacterial types of properties and that sort of thing.
Which would make sense because pine pitch and all that.
Right.
Pine, yep.
So one avenue you could potentially go is making the recipe using a beeswax rather than the black rosin, and possibly incorporating pine essential oils or pine infused oils if you don't have pine resin. Another avenue you could go would be to get some pine pitch and use that and assume that that's probably what the black rosin is. And then the question I have for our listeners is if there's anybody out there who knows what black rosin is and has worked with it or knows how to come by it, please do give me a shout. Write an email to Candace@thepracticalherbalist.com and let me know what you know. I will make sure that we pass it on through on the show, and then I'll make sure that Nikki gets any links or information as well.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Nikki, for the question.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, I guess,
put an herb on it.
The statements made about herbs and products on this podcast have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided on this podcast or any affiliated websites is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use the information on this podcast and its affiliated websites for a diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. Always consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new vitamins, supplements, diet, or exercise program before taking any medication, or if you have or suspect you might have a health problem. Any testimonials, questions, or case studies are based on individual results and do not constitute a guarantee that you will achieve the same results.